It's actually been an open secret for decades, but for the first time now, the CIA has released documents that show its role in the 1953 coup. That is the coup that toppled Iran's democratically elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, had moved to nationalize oil production in Iran. Well, the U.S. was concerned at the time that that would mean a victory for the Soviets in the Cold War. So shortly after his election, the CIA began to plan his overthrow, teaming up with Britain's MI6.
Now, the CIA, we've seen it spelling out its involvement in a series of newly declassified documents. These are the actual documents marked confidential, top secret, eyes only. It's the stuff of crime and mystery and spy novels. This one talks about the security implications of CIA letters of commendation for those who served in that operation codenamed TP Ajax. And this one, dated July 22nd, 1953, almost a month before the coup, it talks about preparing an official American statement to follow a successful coup. So let's dig deeper into this story. We're joined now by Middle East analyst Robin Wright. She's in from Washington. Robin, this is an event that the Iranians still talk about 60 years later with surprising frequency. What have you learned from these documents that you got to get a look at?
Well, I've written about this episode in 3 different books, so this is, as you point out, not something new, but the fact is the United States has finally openly provided the documents and details. And it talks about how this was approved at the highest levels of government. It details the amount of money that went into buying, currying favor among the various sectors of Iranian society. And it points out how important this really was. Little did the CIA understand that this would have extraordinary repercussions 25 years later.
And, you know, one of the things that's fascinating is, like, it is an open secret. This is something that we've heard from former Secretary of State Mádlen Albright, President Obama as well, both of them referring to this as this cooperation that happened. But the first time that the CIA has really acknowledged its role in this, do you think there's going to be any kind of shift or a change or a way that the new president of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, can open up a new dialogue with the United States?
Well, the release of these documents were as a result of a Freedom of Information inquiry. So this was not something that the United States voluntarily provided, but it does come at a very curious or interesting time because Iran has a new president who's talked about moderation and trying to engage in really serious dialogue with the outside world, the world's 6 major powers, and even hinted at direct talks with the United States. And it's very interesting how this release of documents is playing in Tehran. The fact that the United States has acknowledged it openly, put it out there on the table, may actually help both sides get beyond it. The United States has formally apologized for it in the past, but in vague terms. Now the details are known, and kind of fessing up may change the atmospherics at least.
And Robin, you know, this case perhaps explains to some Americans, to some of us, why in the Middle East, in countries like Iran, some of the public opinion is so mixed and negative, really, when it comes to the U.S. We're still feeling the after effects of that coup, which was carried out at the height of the Cold War, to this very day, right?
Absolutely. And it did lead to the abortion of the evolutionary political process led to a revolutionary process 25 years later, for which the United States is still trying to recoup. Iran had been one of the 2 pillars of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East, and this was a tremendous loss, not just because it's an oil-producing country. It has very valuable geostrategic consequences. And this is a moment that turned everything, 2 very close allies against each other. And this is a moment that these documents kind of illustrate the consequences of opting for stability over democratic values, which resonates in terms of what's happening in Egypt, Syria, and elsewhere in the Middle East today.
It has a regional impact. Robin, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.